Good day, everyone. My name is Eliza Jules A. Swalog, and our lesson for today is all about a medical pursuit at the University of Santo Tomas during 1877 to 1882. Now, let's begin to the mother's opposition to higher education. So, Doña Chodora opposed the idea of sending Rizal to university to pursue higher education because she was aware of what happened to Gumursa and feared of would happen to Rizal. Also, Doña Chodora said to Don Francisco to don't send him to the university because he knows enough. If he gets to know more, the Spaniards will cut off his head. So after that, Doña Chodora cried. Jose Rizal himself was surprised why his mother, who was a woman of education and culture, object his desire for our university. So somehow, in here, Doña Chodora knew the danger happened when Rizal will continue what he desired. But despite of the tears coming out from Doña Chodora's eyes, Don Francisco remained quiet and told Pasiano to accompany his younger brother to Manila, and Rizal actually passed the entrance exam in the university. Years later, he wrote in his journal, Rizal wrote in his journal that, saying that, did my mother perhaps have a foreboding of what would happen to me? Or does my mother's heart really have a second sight? Now let's proceed to Rizal enters the university. So in April 1877, Rizal, who was then nearly 16 years old, enrolled in the University of Santo Tomas taking the course of philosophy and letters for two reasons. First is his father liked it, and the second one is he was still uncertain as to what career to pursue. So, Rizal sent a letter to Father Pablo Ramon, who is the rector of Ateneo, and who had been good to him, or Rizal treated him as his mentor. So, Rizal asked his advice of what certain career to take. But sadly, Father Ramon was then in Mindanao, so he was unable to advise Rizal. Consequently, during Rizal's first year, term 1877 to 1878 in the University of Santo Tomas, Rizal studied cosmology, metaphysics, theodicy, and history of philosophy. So the next term, during 1878 to 1879, Rizal received the Ateneo rector's advice to study medicine, and since Rector or Father Ramon was so important in his life, he took up the medical course, and another reason is to cure his mother's growing blindness. So during this time, he chose medicine a career to be able to cure his mother's growing blindness. Now let's proceed to finish a surveying course in Ateneo during 1878. While Rizal was studying his first term in the University of Santo Tomas, Rizal also studied in the Ateneo. So he took the vocational course leading to the title Perito Agrimensor on an expert surveyor. According to my research, it also called a land surveyor. So a land surveyor is inspect a property, they gather data, conduct questionnaires, and they also research to establish properties and boundaries. So according to Cambridge Dictionary, a land surveyor is a person who is trained to examine buildings and what condition they actually in. So somehow, this is related to architecture or engineering. So as usual, Rizal excelled in all subjects in the surveying course in Ateneo, wherein he received gold medals in agriculture and topography. So topography is a broad term used to describe the detailed study of the Earth's surface. And also, the school for boys or in Manila or the Ateneo de Manila offered the courses like agriculture, commerce, mechanics, and surveying in Ateneo. So he was 17 years old at that time when he passed the final exam at the surveying course, but the title cannot be granted because he was underage, so he should be at least 21 years old. So the title was issued on him during November 25, 1881, and somehow he frequently visited Ateneo even if he is Tomasian already, not because the courses but because of the loyalty and the fact that unlike Dominicans, Jesuits professors loved him and inspired him to ascend to greater heights of knowledge. So he joined some active extracurricular activities in the Ateneo, where he is the president of the Academy of Spanish Literature. The second is he is the secretary of Academy of Natural Sciences, and he is the member of Marian Congregation, where he is also the secretary. Now let's tackle about the romances with other girls. So despite being busy with programs, project in school, Rizal, being a romantic dreamer who liked to sip the nectar of love, met his first love or his puppy love, Segunda Katigbak. So she lives in Batangas and she is the first infatuation of Rizal. Katigbak was just 14 years old when she met Rizal, who was then 16. So they met in a party in Rizal's grandmother's house, and Rizal felt it was a love at first sight. So Rizal was aware from the very beginning that their story wouldn't have a happy ending because Segunda Katigbak was already engaged to Manuel Luz. So his sad experience here with his first love had made him wiser in the ways of romance. So the second girl he met is Miss L. So she met this next girl who he called Miss L. Jose Rizal describes her as a fair with seductive and attractive eyes. So according to my research, that Miss L real name was Jacinto Ibarda Lasa, who was a teacher from Paque, Laguna. So Rizal gave Jacinta his full love and attention in order to forget Segunda Katigbak, but they broke up because he cannot still forget the love he has for Segunda Katigbak. So Rizal's father, Don Francisco, object his romance with Miss L because he was a professor. So several months later, during his sophomore year at the University of Santo Tomas, he boarded in the house of Doña Concha Leyva in Intramuros, and where he met his next object of affection, a woman named Leonor Valenzuela. So Rizal nicknamed her as Orang. Leonor lives in Pagsadyan, Laguna, along with her parents, Kapitan Juan and Kapitana Sanday Valenzuela. Rizal courted Leonor and describes her as a tall girl with a regal bearing. So Rizal sent her love notes written in invisible ink. So this ink consisted of common table salt and water. Rizal thought Orang the secret of reading the note, which could only be read by hitting the note over the candle or the lamp so that the words may appear. But as with Segunda, he stopped short of proposing marriage to Orang. So moreover, there is an issue that Rizal is currently pursuing this next girl, who is Leonor Rivera. So Leonor Rivera. Rizal nicknamed her as Times because he wants to hide or camouflage their relationship to their parents. Leonor Rivera is Rizal's cousin. So, Leonor lives in Camiling Tarlac, born on April 11, 1867. She is a student of La Concordia College, where Soledad, Rizal's younger sister, was then studying. So Rizal describes her as a frail, pretty girl, slender as a budding flower with a kindly, wistful eyes. So she somehow known as the Noli Motangheres character, Maria Clara. So they met during 1879 when Rizal boarded in Casa Tomasina, and his uncle is the landlord. So his uncle name is Antonio Rivera. So their relationship grow and they become engaged while hiding their relationship to their friends and families. But unfortunately, Leonor's mother disapproved of her daughter's relationship with Rizal, who was then known as El Filibusterismo. So Leonor's mother hid from Leonor all the letters sent by Rizal to Leonor. So even though they love each other, Leonor's mother disapproved because she wants another man to marry Leonor, who named Henry Keeping. Now let's proceed to the next slide, artistic literary lyceum, or in other words, Liceo Artístico Literario of Manila during 1879. So this is a joint society of literary men and women. So the society held a contest offering a prize for the best poem by a native or a mestizo. So basically, it's not open for Spaniards. So Rizal, being a writer who is currently 18 years old of age during this time, joined the contest and submitted his poem, A La Juventud Filipina, or in other words, to the Filipino youth. So as usual, he won the contest and got the prize of a feather-shaped silver pen decorated with a gold ribbon. So Rizal was so happy, even though the judges is composed by Spaniards. So his Jesuits professors congratulated him along with his family and friends, who is very supportive. So the poem to the Filipino youth, in exquisite verse, Rizal beseech the Filipino youth to rise from lethargy, to let their genius fly swifter than the wind and descend with art and science, to break the change and have long bound the spirit of the people. So this is known as a classic literature in Philippines for two reasons. First is the first great poem in Spanish written by a Filipino whose merit was recognized by Spanish themselves. And second, it expressed for the first time the nationalist concept that the Filipinos and not the foreigners were the fair hope of the fatherland.
Good day everyone, this is Santo, and I'm going to continue our topic about the medical pursuits at the University of Santo Tomas. Seems we all know that many literary works that Rizal had composed, and I am going to discuss those. The Councils of the Gods, 1880, in other term, El Consejo de las Dioses, is an allegorical drama written by Rizal, which he entered in the literary contest of Artistic Literary Lyceum in 1880 to commemorate the 4th centennial of the death of Cervantes. The following year, 1880, the Artistic Literary Lyceum, they opened another literary contest to commemorate or to remember and give respect to the 400th death anniversary of the Cervantes, na kung saan ay sumali si Rizal at isinulat niya ang The Councils of the Gods or El Consejo de los Dioses. Time of awarding, the first prize was awarded to Rizal, a gold ring on which was engraved the bust of Cervantes. After a long and critical appraisal of the entries, Rizal still won the first prize, which is a gold ring. But because of that, many of the Spaniards community in Manila disagreed because for the first time in history, an Indio was excelled in the literary contest. Other literary works of Rizal: first, Junto Pasig or Beside the Pasig, a zarzuela which was staged by the Ateneans on December 8, 1880 on the occasion of annual celebration of the feast day of Immaculate Conception, patrons of the Ateneo. Rizal wrote this as president of the Academy of Spanish Literature in Ateneo. Junto al Pasig or Beside the Pasig, a one-act zarzuela in Spaniards written by Rizal, was staged by the Academy of Spanish Literature's members on December 8, 1880. Rizal wrote it to honor Nuestra Señora de la Paz y Buen Viaje de Antipolo, or the other term, Our Lady of Peace and Good Voyage. Next, A Filipinas, a sonnet written by Rizal for the album of the Society of Sculptors. In this sonnet, he urged all Filipino artists to glorify the Philippines. Jose Rizal composed a sonnet titled A Filipinas for the Society of Sculptors, a Filipino organization of painters in 1880. The sonnet was probably a part of a collection of the poems and addressed the Philippines, its people, and their culture. It might delve into topics like patriotism, Filipino culture, and national identity. Rizal's early passion for the arts and his desire to enhance Philippine culture point to his conviction that art can be a potent vehicle for expressing patriotism. Abd el-Aziz Yi Mahoma, Rizal composed a poem in 1879 which was declaimed by the Atenean Manuel Fernandez on the 9th of December 8, 1879 in honor of the Ateneo's patrons. Jose Rizal composed the poem Abd el-Aziz Yi Mahoma in 1879 while he was an Ateneo de Manila student. On December 8, 1879, the feast day of the patrons of the Ateneo, Manuel Fernandez performed the poem. The poem probably addressed issues of dedication, faith, and the place of religion in the lives of the students. It also revealed Rizal's early literary talent and his affiliation with Ateneo. AMRP Pablo Ramon, Rizal composed a poem in 1881, an expression of affection to Father Pablo Ramon, the Ateneo rector, who had been so kind and helpful to him. The 1881 poem, AMRP Pablo Ramon by Jose Rizal, was composed in honor of Father Pablo Ramon, the Ateneo de Manila rector. The poem expresses Rizal's love and gratitude for Ramon, a good-hearted person who had influenced and supported him throughout his life. It illustrates Rizal's appreciation for Ramon's generosity, close relationship, and creative ability, and emphasizes the significance of mentoring and direction in influencing a young person's course. Vicenta Y. Berdulaza, a pretty girl Kolayala who skillfully played the harp at the Regalado home, whom Rizal infatuated in Pakil. Rizal was attracted to Vicenta Y. Berdulaza, a beautiful Kolayala girl, when he was living in Pakil, Laguna. She was a talented harpist, well esteemed in the community at the time. It's possible that Rizal fell in love with her on a romantic level when he first saw her at the Regalado residence in Pakil. This experience highlights Rizal's admiration for genius and beauty and lends his life a layer of innocence and youthful love. Different life of Rizal at the University of Santo Tomas and Ateneo de Manila. Rizal's Ateneo and UST experiences of Rizal received quite distinct education and experiences at the University of Santo Tomas or UST, and Ateneo de Manila, which ultimately shaped his intellectual growth and revolutionary ambitions. Despite the differences in Rizal's education between the University of Santo Tomas and Ateneo de Manila, these institutions eventually helped him grow as a thinker, become more socially conscious, and become the national hero of the Philippines. UST was a strict conservative university that prioritized scholasticism and religious orthodoxy, whereas Ateneo de Manila was a more progressive Jesuit institution that encouraged critical thinking and social responsibility. During his time at these two establishments, Rizal developed a worldview that emphasized the injustices that the Filipino people endured under Spanish rule and cemented his passion for social reform. He became the national hero of the Philippines, fighting for equality and freedom as a result of his experiences in both institutions as well as his intelligence and compassion.